Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. You guys, look at this weather. What is going on? Look at this gloomy, overcast weather. Isn't this crazy? Okay, this is crazy for us here in Northern California. Usually I would expect it to be hot by this time. I'd be getting up early so I could escape the afternoon heat. And it is like perfection right now. It is, first of all, it's perfect weather for taking photos. I wish that I was a better photographer so that I could come out and take beautiful photos of all of my plants, because with this weather, you don't get those harsh shadows. So everything ends up looking really, really good. But alas, I am not a good photographer. It's on my goal list. It's something that I want to get really good at. I want to get myself a good camera, just so that I can take pictures of my garden on beautiful days like this. But not only is a day like this really good for photography of your garden, it's really good for planting in your garden because it's not too hot. The plants aren't going to get too stressed, and it's going to be like this almost all week. So I am going to take advantage of this and try and get as many plants in the ground as I possibly can. So I am going to be working on this side of my orchard garden pathway. This is what I usually call my purple and orange garden bed. I have purple Cat's Pajamas Nepeta right here. I have orange Blazed Kniphofia, I have denim and lace Russian sage, and then I have chiclet orange Tacoma behind that. Really pretty. I need to weed, I need to mulch, all that kind of stuff. But more importantly, or the area that I really want to focus on, is basically from this Helen von Stein over to the White Pillar Rose of Sharon. So this whole area right here. This area, I've tried a bunch of things. A lot of things it just hasn't really worked well, and I'm not totally sure why. And so I'm going to kind of completely change course and plant other things that I kind of know will do really, really well. So first of all, I have 10 of these Tater Tot Arborvitae, and I am really excited because I've never planted these before, but I just think they're so cute. They're such a great boxwood alternative. They only get 1 to 3 feet tall, maybe about 3 feet wide, and I'm planning to plant them along this pathway right here to give it a little bit of structure, because this garden bed is definitely not it's definitely not formal. I haven't planted any of my orchard garden as a formal garden. It's much more relaxed, much more free-flowing, but I thought maybe giving it a little structure right in this area might be kind of pretty, and I think the thuyas will give that a little bit of structure. And then I was thinking behind that, I can plant my tried and true, one that I know is going to do well, and that is Plain the Blue Salvia. I don't want that to fall over. Right behind it, so I can have the line of the Tater Tot Arborvitaes with the Plain the Blue Salvia behind it, and then climbing on the fence. I'm very excited about this. I went and I visited Anita Clevenger's garden. Anita Clevenger is a master rosarian who does she's a specialist with old world roses, but I was so inspired when I went to her house. I'll link the garden tour video in the description below. She prunes her roses in these swoops along her trellises, and they are like works of art. They are so beautiful how she prunes her roses. And I told her I was going to copy her, and I'm definitely going to copy her. And I think I'm going to copy her right here, because I have these Cecile Bruner roses that I got from my friend Greg. Thank you, Greg. And I was thinking I could plant them behind the Tater Tots and the Plain the Blue Salvia, plant them up my fence, and then start pruning them in those big swoops the way that Anita Clevenger did. I thought that would be really pretty. So I could do one right there, and then I could do one right there. I only have 2 of these roses, but I thought that would be really perfect and really interesting. Now, I definitely have to get gopher cages for these, because this is right next to my neighbor's yard. We definitely have gopher pressure here, so I got to remember to go get those. This right here is a white Salvia leucantha. My friend Pre gave me this, and I love it. It's beautiful. It's such a nice plant. It almost looks like it needs a little bit of fertilizer, but I'm definitely going to keep this plant here, and I'll kind of just work around it. A couple other plants I am going to take out, though, is I have these Beyond Pinked Caryopteris right here, and they were fine. They were okay, but they're kind of fading out, and I have a feeling they're fading out because if you see, there's weeds absolutely everywhere in this area, absolutely everywhere. It's just a weed problem that we're definitely dealing with, and so I'm wondering if the Beyond Pink Caryopteris got got taken over by the weeds. I'm wondering if even the weeds are causing this to have a little bit of issue. So I definitely need to mulch this area. You can see I've got a lot of bare soil. So that's something I want to try and get done today. Then all throughout here, I have some alliums that are trying to come up. I planted these alliums like really early on before anything was planted here. So I'm going to try and pull those guys out. I'm going to try and save the Helen von Stein Lambsir because I think it looks good there. And then I am going to pull this random patch of lemon coral sedum so that I can start the tater tots right here. So hopefully you guys kind of get the picture. Oh, look, I even have a random pink perfusion salvia. I'll probably dig that up and transplant it over to my other ones. So I got a lot to do here today. Hopefully I can get it done. But I'm just going to set the camera up and I'm just going to go. So let's get started. All right, so it's been a couple hours. I am making good progress on this area. It's looking really good, and I can say the sun is out. There's still a lot of clouds, but it's starting to clear up just a little bit. But let me show you guys what I got done so far. So I've got all the old plants out, some of them transplanted, and honestly, all the old weeds out of this area. This is probably the worst spot that we have Bermuda grass, so it's just kind of a constant battle. But one thing I will say is that in this area, we used a lot of this type of inline emitter tubing, and I think it's every 12 inches. So this is just 1/4 inch tubing with emitters in the line in it. And I have to say, I don't know if I like using this in the landscape. Every place that Jason and I have used this stuff in the landscape, it's been like too much water. Like too much water comes out of this. So I think both Jason and I have been talking about this. We've decided that we're not going to use this in the landscape anymore. We still use this for like our pots and stuff like this. But if there's areas that need, like multiple emitters, we're just going to use multiple of these emitters because they just seem to do better. They don't give as much water as this one does. That just might be a little overkill, because when I was auging, I was digging the holes for this area. It was like really wet. It was soaked, way too wet for what is needed. So we will replace that. I tried pulling this one out. I think this one is stuck underneath these Helen von Stein Lambsir. So I'm going to wait for Jason to get here to help me pull this one out. But I think slowly but surely, we're going to start removing this inline emitter tubing from our landscaping. So I got the Tater Tot Arborvitae planted. I ended up planting them a little over 30 inches apart, which is pretty close. So they're definitely going to touch, but I think that they're really cute like this. I think they look really good. They're going to stop. I ended it at the Helen von Stein Lambsir, the little bunch of Helen von Stein Lambsir right here. And then I was able to put a couple over on this side where I have planted black mondo grass right there. And I think it'll pop a little bit better once I remulch this area. So hopefully I can get to that today, but I think that'll look really good. So I think this gives it just a little bit of structure in this area. Like, again, I don't want it to be formal. I'm like fighting having the formal look, but this is looking pretty formal here, but that's okay. That's okay if it's just in this little area and it's next to this very natural, loose planting as well. So behind the Tater Tot Arborvitae, I have the Blvd Blue Salvia, which I love this plant, and I realize that I use it all the time in my garden. Like, look at how much of this plant I have over here, but it's just such a good plant, and I think it's so beautiful, and I love the foliage, and I love that it blooms all season long, and I think that it'll look really good behind the Tater Tot Arborvitae and in front of the Cecile Brunner roses that hopefully will grow all along that fence. So what I have to do right now, so I don't forget, is I have to go get the gopher cages so I can plant the roses in the gopher cages for sure, and then I'll plant the Blvd Blue Salvia, and then I'll get on to mulching, which is going to take the longest, but I think will make the biggest impact. Okay, so I have the gopher cages here. These are my store-bought gopher cages. I've also made gopher cages out of chicken wire, which would work as well, so I could use something like that, but I think for this, I'm just going to use some of these, and I know I have smaller ones. These are like for big trees. These are the 15-gallon size. That's overkill for these. Here we go. Here's some 5-gallon ones. So I'm just going to use these. That'll give it plenty of room for the roots to grow out, and it'll just protect it from those gophers coming under the fence. All right, so I've got everything all planted and I am super happy with it. I think it looks so good. It looks so clean and neat. Jason just got home and he said that he loves this. He thinks it looks really, really good. And I think it'll look even better once we get it mulched. But Jason did ask if I could wait so he could get out here and he could start doing the irrigation before I mulch it, because it just makes it that much easier for him. So he's changing right now. Then he'll come out here and he'll do the irrigation, and then we'll get the mulch down real quick. But in the meantime, I did find some Diamond Frost Euphorbia at Green Acres, and so I want to get that planted in the zigzag planter. So I'm going to go do that real quick while Jason's working on the irrigation here. Here are the Diamond Frost Euphorbia that I found at my local Green Acres. I bought 3 flats of them. So I'm actually supposed to get a delivery in May, but I wanted to grab them while I had them, and then I can use the other ones that I get in delivery. I can use them in other places around my garden. But when I saw these, I wanted to get them in the ground and get them planted in the zigzag planter, because I think the zigzag planter needs it. Oh man, look at that. Ugh. So if you notice, your supertunias start looking like this. They're not really covered with blooms. It's usually a good sign. Oh, there's another one. Look at right there. It's usually a good sign you have budworms. So when I see budworms, or I know it's time for the budworms to come into my garden, I use this stuff. This is called BT, or Bacillus thuringiensis, and it's actually a naturally occurring bacteria that's found in the soil. So I don't feel bad at all for using this in my garden. If I had a butterfly garden or a pollinator garden, I wouldn't use this because it's going to mess with, monarch caterpillars, basically any type of caterpillars, it's going to work on. So just be really careful if you have that type of garden, but if you have an ornamental garden like I have here, it works great, and it's almost necessary if you live in an area that's susceptible to budworms, which I definitely live in an area like that. So basically, I will spray this onto my flowers. The budworms will eat it, and then they will die. Because I'm already seeing some damage, it's going to take a couple weeks for them to bounce back. But what I'm going to do now is I know it's kind of time to start using this prophylactically. So I'll probably use it once a week to every other week, just to make sure that the budworms don't come back after I take care of them. And then this is the concentrate form, so I'm just going to dilute this into my pump sprayer right here that we have for BT only. We also have used it in a hose end sprayer, but I feel like that almost uses it up too quickly, if that makes sense. I don't know if it doesn't dilute it well enough. We just find the pump sprayer tends to work really well. But what I will say is only dilute as much as you're going to use right away. You don't want to store any in your pump sprayer because it'll stop working after a while. And I would also say normally I would use BT only in the evening because one, sun will break down the BT quicker, and you want it to stay active as long as possible so that way more of the budworms will eat it. This is an emergency, so I want to get it sprayed on these plants right now, and it's not really a super sunny day, so I think it'll be fine. But for the most part, think about using this in the evening, and then also all the pollinators will be gone to sleep. This won't hurt pollinators, like it won't hurt bees or anything like that. But if I accidentally spray them directly, then obviously that'll injure them, just like if I sprayed them with water or something like that. So usually wait till the evening, but in an emergency like this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it. Okay, so I am done spraying BT around. I actually ended up spraying it around the whole property, and I'm glad I did, because with a closer look, I realized there's budworm damage everywhere. There's budworm damage on these guys right here. So I just got to be on top of it. Every week from now on, I'm going to be spraying BT. I should invest in BT because I use it so much. It just makes such a difference in how your supertunias look. And so I spray it on supertunias, I spray it on calibrachoa, I spray it on geraniums, and I also spray it on all of my my verbena. And that seems to keep everything in check, and it's just the type of thing that you got to stay on top of it. If you let it get out of control, it's going to take a couple weeks to recover. So this is probably going to take a couple weeks to recover. Jason, you can see he is working on the drip irrigation in this garden bed. He's troubleshooting and making sure it looks all good before we start mulch. And I don't want to rush him. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go move on to another project. I'm going to wrap this video up for now. We will mulch later, and I'll show you guys that in a later video. But I did get a lot of stuff done today. I got this whole bed planted up. I got my diamond frost euphorbia and the zigzag planter and some BT. So all around a good day, and I'm going to go work on some other things. So I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.